Home Care Business Advisors, I am so happy to be here today. We have got some energy in the room. We are doing our marketing madness with two of my dearest friends and professionals, Jeff out of New Jersey and Adam Corcoran of Home Care Flyers out in Naples, Florida. I am so excited about this segment. I can't even wait to get started. Jeff, Adam, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Yvette.
You guys are absolutely welcome. So, marketing madness. This is a subject that is on everybody's lips. Everybody wants to know about. Everybody wants to start a business, and the first thing they want to do, how do I get these clients? You guys are seasoned in your craft. And again, I'm excited for you guys to be here. And so we're going to be just like firing at you. Right? It's the marketing madness. So let's get crazy, let's get jiggy, and let's throw out that first question. Do I have to be experienced in sales to be a marketer? Adam, I'm going to throw that to you.
Well, it's a great question. And there's so many people who I think go into this with a clinical background, or they have a personal caregiving experience, and they don't have true marketing or sales experience, and that's okay. I look at this as a huge opportunity. When I first started in the home care space, I grew up with a mom who is a director of nursing for a home care agency, and I never thought in a million years I would be in home care in sales or marketing. I'm a big believer that your career finds you. So just because I didn't have experience in it firsthand with sales and marketing, I found my way. And I'm a big believer that if you lead with purpose, right? And if I know we've had a long conversation, purpose and being very intentional, I think everything else falls into place. So I don't necessarily think that you have to have a sales and marketing background to be a successful home care owner.
And Jeff comes to the table. I remember when Jeff first started in the industry, right, Jeff? And I know that you can lead on to that in, just co-signing what Adam says about, do I have to have experience in sales?
So I came into this field as an elementary school teacher. So I didn't have any experience with sales or marketing, so the only thing I would disagree is maybe you might need some experience in marketing, because that's a little bit more in depth of who you want to reach out to and who you're going to reach out to. But in regards to sales, I think if you have the right personality for what we do, you can definitely excel in this. Just know that you do need to do your research, because you don't want to walk into someone who's seasoned. If you walk into a skilled nursing facility,
right?
And then you don't want to just talk nonsense, because they'll know right away, and you just don't want to diminish your credibility.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about walking into that skill facility. No, you guys have been there. I've been there. It's not a great place to be, but you do get over it. How do you get past that receptionist, that gatekeeper, that person that's sitting there watching? How do we get past that? How do we break that?
I think it really all comes down to building relationships, right? So, and not discounting any single person. That gatekeeper needs to be your go-to person, right? I look at every single person within a doctor's office, skilled nursing facility, assisted living as an opportunity, as someone who could refer to me. And I mean that because at the end of the day, that gatekeeper, that first person who you come up to, you know, you have to have a good connection with them because they're the person who's going to either let you get to the director of nursing, the executive director, or the, you know, the social worker, or not. If you don't have a good relationship with them, it's going to be very hard. Cold calling is a very it's a form of art, I believe, and it's uncomfortable. You know, I think people have to really, and it takes time. You know, if I tell you, you have to have thick skin, and Jeff, I'm sure you could agree. If I had, you know, 1 yes to 10 no's, I was having a good day. You know,
right.
You have to go in with that mindset, and over time, I think those barriers start to come down, and you know, you build those relationships, and next thing you know, that gatekeeper is your best friend who you don't even have to.
And no longer the gatekeeper. And no longer the gatekeeper. You know, and I recently had one of our members, and you know, she had gone out and she had said, you know, that she was told a no, and she was like so deflated. You know, I'm like, pull your big girl panties on. We're gonna do this. You know, 1 yes is gonna all that you need, right? And again, Jeff, you know, piggyback on that. What is your thoughts on that?
You know, when I first started, there was one facility who still refer to me, and it's mainly in part, or has to do with the gatekeeper. From day one, she has been by my side. She keeps me involved with what's going on, who's coming into the building. I can't tell you how often I've heard from other marketers that say, no, you need to find out who the social workers, you need to find out who the executive director is. Whoever it may be, yes, you need to build a relationship. But I always found if I'm cold calling, all I have to do is go in and meet that, you know, the caregiver, or not the caregiver, the gatekeeper, and let her know that I'm here to build a relationship with her and not just walk past her to look for somebody who's running the building. Like I said, they keep me in the building.
Right. You know, and one of the things that I found at the tail end of my, you know, home care, boots on the ground journey was that things started changing in as much that instead of we had females who were our liaisons or our marketers, now we had these young men, Jeff and Adam, you know, all cute, hair polished and cut short, and, you know, and got the low cut, you know, beard going on, the Patrick Swayze look, coming into these buildings. And it was like, oh my God, yeah, come on in.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's really changed in terms of, you know, the acceptance of not just the female, but also that male liaison that's coming in. So it really doesn't matter. It's about those relationships. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. And when you walk into these buildings, you really have to have a certain demeanor about you, a welcoming demeanor. You don't want to walk in like a used car salesman. I think I've said that before on this podcast, or the stream with you. But too many times I see people that are too serious, or they're nervous, or, you know, their voice changes. But you're just walking in to a building. If they say no, on to the next, you know?
Right. So Jeff, so how do you break that? How do you break that for our viewers that are out there? Because again, you know, I hear all the time when I speak to our members, new members coming in or just wanting a consultation with me, that they're nervous. They don't have that confidence. But my God, they want to have this business. So how do you overcome that, Jeff?
So for me, I think a lot of nervousness comes with obviously an experience, but lack of knowledge. So, you know, I've been doing this for a long time. And when I first started, I was always very nervous when I entered the buildings because I didn't know if there was going to be a conversation that someone brought up that I wasn't familiar with, if they were going to mention names of people who I didn't know. But, you know, after the first week, I just realized, look, I'm not going to make it unless I just walk into these buildings like I don't care. And I do care, don't get me wrong, but I don't care if they tell me no, because there will be a way to, you know, that you find yourself in that building.
Penetrate. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's well said. That's a very good point. So guys, where do I start? Where do I start when I'm planning to market? Adam, throw it at me. Give it to me one by one, step by step. How do I start when I'm planning to market?
Well, I think it's a balance, right? I think you're foolish if you don't have a plan in place And I think that's why a marketing plan or a map is very important when it comes to coming out with your next steps of what you're going to be doing within your marketing strategies. Now, there's also action that needs to be taken. I know a lot of people who plan, and never execute. So you really have to be very mindful of when you are planning and being intentional. When I say intentional, I mean that with a whole heart, because there's different seasons that you're going to go through when you're doing your marketing, right? And sometimes it's going to be a marketing blitz, and you know, like we say, spray and pray. You're going to go out and hit every single assisted living in a 15-mile radius of your office, or you know, you're going to target on a different scope of area like skilled nursing facilities or hospitals, right? But then there's going to be times where you're going to go super narrow. And those are the times that when I say intentional, you really have to be. You have to be strategic. And as Jeff said earlier, like, you need to know your stuff. You can't go in and fake it till you make it. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to find your niche and your differentiator. I know we're going to get into that, but I think you have to really find it. You have to understand, when you leave that building, that doctor's office, that hospital, that rehab, there's 20 other home care agencies that are knocking on
Preach it, Adam.
Right?
Absolutely.
How are you standing out? How are you different? And if you don't know that, then go back to the drawing board, because you have to do your homework and get specific.
So Jeff, so in light of what Adam's just saying, you know, would you think to go out just to test the market without a good foundation in terms of your knowledge of the industry, the knowledge in who your competitors are, the knowledge in what your potential referral source actually wants from you? You know, again, I'm very repetitive in as much that everybody knows what we do in home care, right? But we have to go in knowing what they need from us as home care.
Exactly.
Right, Jeff?
So, you know, and just to touch base a little bit on what Adam said to the marketing plan, it's huge. And I think I reached out to you maybe a few months ago, Yvette, and I just said I revamped my entire marketing plan.
Yes.
When we first started Always, I kind of walked into it very cocky, in the sense that I have my referral sources. I know who's out there. I'm going to be able to just walk right in, and, you know, whoever I speak to, they're going to want to use me because they've worked with me. But it's just not the case, because you have to have everything outlined and what you need to follow, because you just won't execute a lot of things, and you'll leave a lot of the marketing strategies.
Absolutely.
In regards to what you said, Yvette, I would really, really recommend that if you're going to be walking into these buildings, you want to know what these buildings are doing. What do they specialize in? What's their census? You need to know if you're walking into an assisted living or you know, for instance, a Sunrise. You want to ask for, you know, an executive director, not an administrator. You want to use the right terms. But when you find out what these buildings are lacking or what they do have, and you kind of play to that, instead of just saying, hey, I'm Jeff from Always Home Healthcare. I have great aides and I'll stay in contact with everybody on the phone. Yeah, so does every other home care agency.
Absolutely.
How can you help me? You know, how are you going to help you know, we have a problem with people being readmitted. So, you know, what are you going to propose to us to help us with that? And, you know, one strategy might be, well, listen, we're focusing on fall prevention, and that could be a huge impact on somebody that you're speaking to.
Absolutely. I have Nicole Haney. Nicole is one of our members, and she's doing phenomenal in her practice. And she's just posed a question. She says, I'm training a new marketer. What are some takeaway tips or must-dos that I can work with her on? I'm going to throw that to you first, Adam.
Sure. And kind of just to piggyback on what Jeff just said, and this is actually a tip in itself. So if I could have taken back the first 8 months of my marketing career in home care, I would have done things a little bit differently, right? I used to walk into buildings and hospitals and rehabs and just blah, 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 blah. And Golden Care does this and Golden Care does that. And I was just talking way too much, right? You need to reverse engineer that account, because like Jeff said, you have to identify where their pain points are. Are they even using home care services? Maybe, maybe not. And then you have to really educate, right? So find out where they're lacking, where their pain points are. If they're currently using home care services, find out how you can be a solution for their needs. Don't go in and just, spill out your guts on things that they might not even need. It really is about uncovering. So I look back on remembering when I used to go in and do sales calls, and it was super uncomfortable because I was doing it completely the wrong way. I need to go in, find out who the movers and shakers were, who are the decision makers, who are the people actually making those referrals, and asking very specific questions. And then I've learned on my first couple of sales calls, I don't even really talk about what we do. I want to learn. It's kind of like our discovery phase. So when you're training a marketer, it's, going out on ride-alongs, and it's really, focusing on the people who are currently referring to you, what's going well, and expanding on that. And then for the people who are not referring to you, or opportunities, that low-hanging fruit, it's going in, reverse engineering, finding out where their pain points are, coming back with the solution, right? You don't have to have it right there and then in 30 seconds. Go back to the drawing board, come up with a solution, and be mindful. Well, when I heard you say, Director of Nursing, that you said that, you're the Director of Nursing of a memory care community, and majority of your hospitalizations of your residents are due to falls. Well, the really cool thing is our agency has a fall prevention program that we can put in place for your residents. Right there and then, that's speaking their language and being able to help with their issues.
And it's having to be ready. Again, another situation, guys, I was on a call or communicating with one of our members today. She's got a event that she's going to meet with an assisted living tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, do you have this in place, this in place, this in place? Just be ready to be able to respond to anything that may come back at you. Because right now you don't know what they're asking you to come in for. So be ready. Think of it from this standpoint, that standpoint, those standpoints, and have it, already played out. I have Lakeisha. She's one of my ladies out in Florida, and she's apologizing for coming on late. But what are some of the ways to find out the weak areas or pain points of a facility that may not be as open with communication? Jeff, I'm going to pose that to you. What is the way to find out the weak areas or pain points of a facility?
So, I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to just ask. If you finally got to, sit down with somebody, ask them. As Adam said, as a new marketer, a lot of times people just want to go in and just say, this is what I do. This is how I can help you. Can I please have referrals? But I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry. But no, you need to have a goal in mind, and that goal should be, for this one building would probably be, what are your weak points and what can I help you?
And just ask them. Like you said, just ask them. It's okay to ask them. You're on the outside, guys. You want to be able to find out. What it's showing to me is that you are interested in knowing how you can better help me, right? So when I'm an assisted living administrator and you're coming in and you're asking me these questions, the worst case scenario, I'm going to say, no, I'm good there, right? That's the worst case scenario. But the good part of it is that we've opened up dialogue that I can feel comfortable in saying, look, here's what my issues are, right? And you can actually fill in for that. I have another question that's come up. How can one use their first client as leverage to get more clients?
That's
okay, Adam, you're smiling. Go ahead, knock yourself out.
That's my favorite. I mean, listen, home care agencies, they spend thousands of dollars in paid advertising and, billboards, advertising and resource guides. There's no better referral than someone who's had a good experience by using your services. Those word of mouth referrals, you need to act as like a catalyst, right? So you need to be very transparent too and ask for what you need from them, right? If they had a good experience using your services, you want them to share with their friends and families of, what that experience looked like. I can't tell you how many times, and I can speak specifically here in Naples, Florida, we have a high rise sitting here on the Gulf of Mexico, and we take care of one family member. Next thing you know, these families have a conversation at the mailbox or down at the dining hall. You want them to be your biggest cheerleader, because that's what's going to, lead to your next referral. your next word of mouth referral. And next thing you know, you have half the building that you're providing services in, and you can serve it really well.
Right, right. You know, and what we've done this so far, guys, is that, you know, we've talked about, you know, the facility, we've talked about assisted living, we've talked about the rehabs. But again, we have so much potential to go further afield, but we're going to get to that real soon, because I have another question that's come up. And Chantel has asked, if I go to a facility and I haven't got a referral, how often do I go back?
So I would say that it depends on the facility and the size of the facility. How many beds do they have? How many discharges do they have per month? And kind of gauge it off of that. But you know, don't count out the smaller facilities. I remember, you know, working for somebody who said, you know, don't go there. It's a Medicaid dump. But I would go once or twice a month, and I'd make sure I was there, sometimes 3 times a month. And I was getting huge referrals from them because other agencies just didn't want to go in, you know. So don't count anybody out. But just to what we said before, you have to do your research.
And I think consistency is key. I think, you know, when you look at those things of, well, I've been there, you know, 3 times and I haven't got a referral. Well, it might take another 10 times, right? So don't discount that. 2 things with that thought in mind. So you might have to pivot. When I say pivot is if you're going after the director of nursing, then you're going after the director of nursing and she's not
go
referring,
to someone else. Mm-hmm.
Go to someone else. There's multiple people in that building. I can't tell you how many times we haven't got referrals from the director of nursing, who is, you would think, be the first person to make that referral. But all of a sudden, now we're going to go in and help with activities, right? And the activities director is now sending us business, or the sales director is sending every single person who's coming in for transitional support. So don't discount a building because you're not making any leeway in just one person. You have to pivot. The other thing is being consistent. You cannot go in once a quarter and think you're gonna, you know, you have to be okay. You have to be consistent. Now, if you go and go and go and go and you're not seeing a return, look, I absolutely agree. There's a point where you say, all right, move your energy to somewhere else. But that's what goes back to your marketing plan. Your marketing plan, you should be looking at your accounts and designate them. These are my A accounts. My A accounts, I'm going to see at least once a week. My B accounts, I'll probably see once or once or twice a month, you know, or 3 times a month. And then you have your C and D accounts where you might see less frequent. But you have to plan for that.
Right, right. And I use the term often pipeline. You know, my first initial thing is, guys, get 10 referral sources, mix it up, assisted living, elder care attorneys, you know, let's do a little bit of everything. Get 10 in your pipeline and work them through those phases that you just mentioned, Adam, in terms of they're a hot lead, they're a little bit warm now, and now they're cold. Once they get to that cold, now you filter in another couple back into your pipeline again. So the question I have again here is, would you advise using marketing agencies in early days to get initial clients, or should it be for more mature agencies? Jeff, I'm going to throw that one at you, my love.
So what kind of marketing agencies would you say they're asking to look into?
So there's marketing agencies that actually just do marketing on behalf of companies, whether it be their flyers, whether it be their promotions. Maybe that marketing agency, maybe from the question that has been posed, maybe like the Place for Moms and the AgingCare.coms and so forth. So I'm looking at it from the marketing agencies that actually do your whole marketing strategy.
So I would say, just in the beginning when I started this, it wasn't really something I looked into because, you know, as I said, I walked into it and I thought I was just going to get referrals because I knew these people. Shortly, I looked into Caring Homes. I looked into caring.com. They helped, and you can actually use these as leverage for clients that may not even want to use home care, but how can you use these clients to refer somewhere else? So sometimes I have these clients calling, they don't want home care, but they want to go to assisted living, and I'll help them, you know, get into a building.
Right, but what that has done is created an engagement for you in that building that you have now made a referral to them.
I stayed clear of hiring anybody to like market and brand me, just because I didn't have the money to start off with. And
right.
I didn't think I was going to see a return on it. Now it's a little bit different, and it has helped me build a name both on social media and, anywhere else.
Perfect. Do you have anything to add on that, Adam?
For sure. So the way I see it is our biggest asset is our time, right? Now, if you have a designated marketer, right, and now you have this person who's going to be responsible for ad creation, Facebook monitoring, your social medias, your ad buys, you might want to consider outsourcing some of this stuff. When I say some, I'm very, very specific. Some of this stuff that you can allocate more time to actual feet on the ground sales. So, utilizing a company to make your brochures or flyers or something like that obviously might make sense. If that's going to be able to free up some of your time to have feet on the ground. So I think in every stage of your business, it's a little bit different. Some companies cannot afford to have a marketing agency run their, those types of things early on, and you evolve to that. But I think early on, when it's kind of grassroots, boots on the ground, you learn to figure it out slow and steady.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. You really
absolutely
have to. Because and one thing I will say is you cannot, in my opinion, now I don't necessarily think that you should be outsourcing your, like Jeff said, your brand, your face, your sales to other people, because you're the face of the business.
Absolutely.
You have to own that.
Right. And one of the things that I had also found in, Home Care Business Advisors is that some of our members would feel that they needed to change their title. If they were the owner, that they would have to change their title to be, resource counselor, liaison, what have you. And I'm like, listen, you've been wanting to be an owner since you was 2, right? Let's be proud of it, because this is what people want to see. Jeff, on your card, you're going to have, president, CEO, or whatever the title is, because people think that this is where the buck stops. That's who they want to talk to. Right. So Nicole has also asked another question, guys, and I'm going to throw this one out to Adam. What is a good way to gauge the effectiveness of the marketer beyond just numbers? If the first part is developing a relationship,
right?
How do we gauge the effectiveness of what the new marketer has done, not just by numbers? If the first part is developing a relationship, how do we gauge the relationship aspect?
I think a couple of things, and that's a phenomenal question. Hats off to Nicole, and thanks for joining us today. I would say, numbers are a big portion of it, right? You could, you can monitor metrics all day long, but I think you're going to learn a lot. For instance, I have a sales team of 3, sales reps. So when I go out and do ride-alongs with them, I learn so much more about the level of relationship building that they've done within their accounts. Again, numbers are black and white, right? We can see if we're hitting goals that month or we're not, that quarter, what have you. Are we getting the prospects? Are we closing, the deals, what have you? But if I spend 2 days a week out with my sales reps and understanding, I'm starting to hear certain things of, oh my gosh, Danny's done this and he's really developed a relationship. We love Danny, and this is why we're referring to him exclusively. You can start to gain that knowledge of how people are doing, but it's investing that time that you're going to put into being with that person to really understand how effective they're being. If you're, and you have to keep them honest, because there's some times I'll call my sales reps and say, hey, guess what? I'm spending the day with you. I want you to take me to 8 of your accounts. And so they're not pre-planned, You're going to go into a building and you'll know right away if they have a relationship within that building, yes or no. So it's very clear.
And that's the part where that relationship comes in. And I know for sure that Adam does do that, because he has canceled our telephone conferences because he's out on the road with these sales guys. And I'm like, okay, are they cute or am I cute? Right, Adam? But Jeff, right. I'm going to throw that same question to you, because I know in the beginning and the early stages of Always Home Healthcare is that you and I, you've sat in my office and you've talked about the sales guys that you have hired and finding that balance in terms of how do I assess their productivity? So I'm going to pose that same question. Sure. How do you gauge the effectiveness of your marketers?
So obviously the numbers, but I agree 100% with Adam. If you're not hands-on, you're not going to see how your marketers are, not even who they know, but just how they speak to people. If you're not going out there, then it's going to be hard to kind of gauge what they are doing. Another strategy I was using was, please send me an end of day. Not because I want to see exactly what you're doing. If you're bringing in numbers, why should I care? But the fact of the matter is, when they give you that end of the day or the end of the week or whoever it might be, like, okay, Monday I made phone calls for 2 hours. I spoke to so-and-so, but when I went out to these buildings, I didn't get to see anybody. All right, well, did you get a card and, let me know who you spoke to? And that was a really surefire way for me to help them get into these buildings because, I was always in Morris County or whatever county I was in, people always move. And when they started giving me end of the day,
that is absolutely true. Mm-hmm.
I found out who they were speaking to, and I said, okay, well, here's what you need to do. Here's what they like. Okay, don't tell her you know me, but bring, bring something like nice for her that she likes. Not that you're trying to like solicit anything through giving something, but it'll really touch somebody's
gesture.
Yes, a gesture. And that was a really good way for me to gauge what they were doing out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have Mike Nally who has just posted a question here for us, and he says, what are you using to incentivize your caregivers?
I think, I mean, we could probably talk for another 2 hours about caregiver retention, recruiting. I mean, that's a whole nother piece.
That's a whole nother subject.
It is, but and Mike, thanks for joining as well. Caregivers are our front line, right? I take every opportunity to recognize when I see our caregivers out in our assisted livings or skilled nursing facilities to recognize them, incentivizing them with praise. Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. The almighty dollar doesn't hurt. Right. I mean, people are looking for bonuses and gift cards and gas cards and all that nice stuff. But I think it goes a long way when you remember their son's birthday is coming up and you take time out of your day to make that phone call and say, hey, I know your son's birthday is coming up. Just want to hope you have a really nice time this weekend. Here, I might gift you, a half day or PTO for a day. I think little stuff goes a long way. We do a lot of different programs for caregiver retention and appreciation because, again, without them, we're nothing. We're nothing.
Right. Absolutely. And again, Jeff, and I know, very personal in terms of, your caregivers and how you feel about your caregivers. Again, do you want to add on to what Adam has just mentioned?
A lot of it is exactly what he said. But one thing for me that I really like to use when I'm trying to handle or make the caregivers feel better is I want to understand how my clients are doing or how they feel towards the caregiver. And then I'll make it a point to go to that home and kind of get them to talk about those good points in front of the caregiver. So the caregiver knows that, hey, I'm not just in here and no one's really acknowledging what I'm doing. It's not always the easiest way. It's just something I've kind of picked up over the years.
Wonderful. Lakeisha has asked, when you are out, would you recommend taking materials and goodies with you, or should you go with the goal of setting a meeting appointment first? Adam.
So kind of going back to that first initial phone, sales call, I made a lot of mistakes early on, right? I would bring every flyer, every brochure, everything in a big packet of folder, and I would drop it off, right? And then I learned I don't want to drop that off without showing context of what I'm dropping off, right? So I think being strategic on that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sales call approach of uncovering what's important to them, not overloading them with too much information in a folder or what have you, but find
enough
out
to tease them.
Right. And the thing is, so you can elaborate, right? Uncover what's important to them and then have a strategic flyer, brochure, rack card that speaks specifically to their pain point and go back because you're intentional listening and being intentional listening. And now you're providing a resource for them saying, hey, I heard you say your biggest, reason of using home care is due to falls. I actually have this rack card, this brochure, this flyer that speaks specifically to how our agency can support. This might be a great tool for you to use when you talk to your families that are experiencing loved ones that are falling.
We've had Zakaya, who has just posed a question, and we have touched on this, but I want just to make sure that we have this, securely out there in the universe. How long of a waiting period would you have from making that initial contact to making that into a prospect? What is that period of time from the first contact to making that second? Jeff, what would you say your response to that is?
So no matter what the case, if I'm going out marketing, I'm visiting new buildings, as soon as I get home that night, I'm sending out emails. It was a pleasure meeting you, or, sorry I missed you today. I left a brochure for you just to kind of review what we offer as a company. But after that, you'd want to follow up at least a week. That's, at least that's what I followed.
Perfect.
Adam, you have to plan for the next 2 visits, right? Again, if you don't get that 5-10 minute conversation with the person, you have to plan for that follow-up. So it's getting that card. Following up is key. That shows that you're being intentional, that you want to earn their business, and you want to learn more about how you can help them. So when I do my sales calls, I'm already planning for the next sales call, because I want to be able to come back with that and be able to support them. So that time frame is a little bit tricky because everyone can be a little bit different. As I said, if it's an A account that they're constantly feeding us referrals, you're going to be in there more constantly. Now, I think the question was posed more or less if you're not getting referrals, right? You make that initial contact. What's your next step? 100% communication within 24 hours, whether it's text message, email.
Just like what Jeff said, right?
Yeah, and you should have face-to-face within 7 days.
And there's always 2 sides. I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But I was just about to say there's 2 sides to a pancake, right? And there's that side of saying, okay, I've got to be consistent, I've got to be persistent, because that's what, we always say, consistency, persistency, right? But then when do I actually start being a nuisance?
Right. So I'm very open about asking. Once I start to develop that relationship, I want to know how often is it appropriate for me to come back, because then you're setting up your success. And then if they say, well, I don't really know, then you say, would it be okay if I stop by every 2 weeks? And if they say yes, then they're going to expect you every 2 weeks because they agreed to it, right? So you want to put the ball in your court, but you want to be mindful and asking them what's not too much, but what's enough that I could be effective. So I didn't do that early on. I'll be honest with you. I learned that later into the sales and marketing game. It's okay to ask, how frequent can I come back? And if you say weekly and it's like, oh, no, we don't refer to home care that much, then okay, well, would it be okay if I came every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks? And they agree to that. Then you put that into your plan. I know I'm going to go see XYZ Senior Living on the 3rd Thursday of every month, and I'm going to come around 10 o'clock. Be consistent so they know to expect you.
Absolutely. And again, you're asking them, let them give you what they want, as opposed to guessing. It just takes out the guessing out of the whole situation. So Jeff, here's a question for you. They're coming fast and furious. Get some water. Okay.
I'm almost done with it.
So Darlene is one of my new babies, and Darlene is asking, what are some good ways to market during COVID, being that most facilities are restricting who they allow into their facilities? Jeff, this is one for you.
Well, it goes back to what we've been saying, what Adam just said. Call the buildings, find out what their restrictions are, what their guidelines are, and follow them. What I've done is, a lot of the people that I already have relationships with, is I leveraged them to get into, other places that I couldn't, because COVID has made it almost impossible to see anybody. And in the past, it has been my niche to just get in front of people because the way I interact with them. So when COVID initially started, I was kind of freaking out because I couldn't get in front of people, and maybe I'm okay on the phone, maybe I'm not. I don't know what other people think, but I was having some trouble getting into some new facilities. So what I did was I reached out to maybe 1 or 2 of the contacts I knew, and I said, look, I really need some help. Who can I reach out to? How can I get in front of people? And who do you know?
Perfect answer. Perfect answer. Here we go again, guys. How did you determine the right point in your business to start working with a marketing or a liaison?
Well, I think that all depends. I mean, I've been blessed. I mean, I've been the director of sales and marketing from day one. So, I mean, it's hard for me to judge. Not everyone has that luxury of being able to hire a sales and marketing person right off the gate. So for me, it's going to be hard to really determine. But I will say this is juggling multiple roles, right?
Yes.
As a hometown owner early on is something that's you have to really be mindful when it comes to, all right, now I'm hiring or I'm scheduling or I'm trying to do marketing, I'm out. So I think it's about coming up with a plan and setting goals for yourself. Well, once I get to 10 clients and 1,000 billable hours, whatever that looks like, right? Set those goals and then be able to delegate some of that stuff off your plate. And maybe sales and marketing is one of those things after, you know, a couple people that you hire within your office.
Perfect answer. And Jeff, any feedback on that?
Sure. So I think the biggest mistake I made when I first started was I really wanted to jump into this, bringing in work tenfold, right? And by myself, or, you know, wearing many hats as an owner, as Adam said, you just can't do that. So that's why I wanted to hire a marketer. Very, very quickly, you realize it's just not the right move. You really need to establish a face for the company. If you're going out as, you know, I'm the owner, so I go out. They want to know who I am. They want to know who's behind the company. Who do these caregivers work for? Who am I speaking to, and who's handling my situations? Whereas if you send some, you know, some random person out there that you just started and they don't even know what Always is, why would they ever work with that guy or woman, you know?
Right. And again, and I remember the conversations that we've had, Jeff, is like, you know, you've got to set those foundations. You've got to do it. You will know when to pass on the baton to that next person. But when things start stretching and your span of controls becomes out of control, then you're going to really, really know. So Nicole has asked another question. She is full of questions today. Thank you so much, Nicole. Is there a general rule of thumb on allocating funds for marketing each month? Adam?
I think it depends. I think, as I said earlier, you go through seasons of where you have to allocate more money. Here in Naples, Florida, we're a very seasonal type of business. I mean, snowbirds, as we call them, are typically here between October and April, right? So that's a big portion of where we're seeing a lot of our referrals. But again, you're going to go through seasons within your own business. So when you talk about dollar amounts when allocating to advertising or promotional products or collateral or doing lunch and learns, I think it really depends. But you have to, one thing I will say, and this is my biggest word of advice, is track the effectiveness, the return on investment, ROI.
Yes.
You have to. I know too many people that throw money at lunch and learns all day long. They put advertisements in that fancy book that's going to go to every single senior in the community, and they never track it, right? And they don't track it. So I'm telling you right now, my staff, internal, is trained. They don't get off the first phone call without knowing exactly who referred that or where they heard about us. And if my owner were to come to me tomorrow morning and say, run a report on the ROI on this one specific ad, I can give you an exact dollar amount year to date. So, I mean, you just have to, understand your return on investment, and you have to track that.
And I can just add on to that, in going through a national acquisition myself with my home care agency, and I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, although I knew that I had to track it, right? But then when I was actually going through this acquisition, and they asked me for my numbers, they asked me from how much was I getting in revenue from referral A, how much I was getting in from referral B. That's when it really dawned on me, oh, I was doing a great job. But, tracking it, guys, it is so important. It can be, sometimes tiresome, but it is important to know where you're getting it from, so you know where to allocate going forward. You got to be able to penetrate that accordingly. So I have Alicia. Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
I'll just finish. Put systems in place so they're easily trackable, right? If you put the system in place, it's easy to track. And, you won't feel bad spending $200 on a lunch for a skilled nursing facility if you know you've already gotten 12 referrals out of there, and year to date they've already generated over $50,000. So you just have to know your numbers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Alicia says, what approach should I take when speaking to a referral specialist or an executive director when I'm visiting a facility? Or how should I introduce myself or my business? I'm going to throw this one to you, Jeff.
Sure. So this is a tough question, because I always feel that when I walk into a building, I need to understand who I'm talking to. You need to be perceptive. Many times there's somebody who's just like, look, I don't have much time. Give me your quick 1 minute, 2 minute elevator speech, and that's it. Other times people are very interested in who I am or who the company is, and then I'll speak in that regard. But that is a tough question. What do you think, Adam?
I think it really boils back to like reverse engineering, right? Is understanding what they want, right? Because that's what's important at the end of the day. When you're approaching the sales director, it might be a different pitch than the executive director or the director of nursing. I think each person is going to play a different role, but over time you become more and more comfortable about that pitch. And I think we had a question earlier, and I don't know if it was totally addressed, but if someone's just like not communicative at all, right? You want to build the scenario for them. Okay. So if you're asking that question, trying to get stuff out of them, right? You're trying to reverse engineer, you're asking those questions. Where's your pain points? Do you guys even use home care, right? And then even be asked, okay, how often do you refer to home care on a monthly basis, right? Okay. Would you say it's between 3 and 5 times a month? And if they say yes, you know that they're referring 3 to 5 times a month. You want at least half of those, right? And how are you going to do that? You're going to be able to position yourself. But if they're not communicative, you have to paint the picture of how, right? So if they're just saying, oh, well, I just don't, you can't take for granted that they know private duty. They might only be referring to home health, and that's all they have been doing, right? But finding those opportunities. That is a good point. Well, it's interesting that you say that you really don't utilize home care services, but I've seen experience of us working closely with skilled nursing facilities about transitional care support. Would you say that some of your discharges that are coming out of this rehab facility could benefit from one-on-one care due to not taking their medications or following up with their primary care physician? You gotta speak the scenario to them for them to start uncovering, oh, well, I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
Right, absolutely. Again, going in there prepared. And Jeff, we have somebody who was directing a question directly at you, my friend. Sure. Jeff, how did you determine at what point to engage in a marketing person?
To engage. So I assume they're asking when I should hire.
When did you bring one? Yeah, when did you hire? Yes.
Well, from the start, I brought on people to help me out because, I really wanted to bring in business right away and grow as fast as I could. And it was a huge mistake. And to be very honest, at this point, I've completely got rid of everybody. I have Lillian that's in the office doing a lot of the office work. So I'm able to really focus a lot on just the marketing right now. And it's been such a huge success because I know who I'm speaking to. I know what my budget is. I know what I'm spending on people. If I'm spending too much, then, I'm not going to really continue to, engage as much as I was. But I think you really need to understand, okay, I've brought on this many people this month. It's becoming very difficult for me to market and manage my clients. I've brought on, this month alone, 20. And I know with the existing clients, the 20 that I already have, I can't visit them. I can't make the phone calls. I'm not able to manage my cases. So that's going to be the point where I say to myself, look, I need to bring somebody else on. And it's probably going to be somebody who I don't really want to hold their hand, because someone just mentioned that, how do you gauge what they're doing out there? But I want to bring in somebody that I know is going to be able to do what I'm doing.
Right. So Tarshal is my honey bunny out in GA, and she says, what is the best way to connect with a home health company that is also in the home with the respective client? Adam, how do you make that connection We know that we've got to have these power partners, right? So how do we make that connection with the home health that is already in the home? How do we make that synergy?
So full transparency, about 50% of my referrals come from home health organizations. So we could do a whole separate training on this power partners. Without home health, gosh, we would be nowhere. No, but now I will say this. Full disclosure, I have a sister company that is a home health organization. So obviously that helps. But that doesn't mean that there isn't work involved. Even before I was in this world and in this private duty, independent owned agency, I worked for a franchise model. And even then, majority of my referrals were coming from home health. Home health is a golden nugget that not a lot of people are taking advantage of. So many people are confused. Concierge physicians, primary care physicians, even rehab facilities don't know the difference between home health and home care. I designed a flyer that speaks specifically to what is home care and what is home health, what does Medicare cover, what it doesn't. And what I do is I would go in regularly to those case conferences and do the same exact thing as if I were calling on a community or a facility or what have you. Because those admission nurses or those social workers that are going in on the home health, they're seeing it just as much as anybody. You know, that person who just came out of the hospital that gets assigned home health, right? That first nurse that's going out and walks into that home and they realize, whoa, this person needs a lot more care than we can handle, right? They need someone to lean on. So you want to be that partner, that power partner. So honestly, I mean, home health is a golden nugget, but you have to be consistent, just like any other account that you're going to serve. And the number one thing for me is communication. Because at the end of the day, and a lot of things have changed over the years about reimbursements and penalties and what have you, is that home health organization does not want that patient to end up back in the rehab or back in the hospital because they're going to look that poorly because they're not providing that level of care. So if home care, private duty home care can bridge that gap, keep that person safe at home, communicate on things that the clinicians need to be aware of, it's an overall better experience for the patient. And you're going to be able to expedite all those referrals that are going to continue to come in because you're proving your value to them.
Right. So let's get down to some nitty gritty. Money. What kind of pay structure should we be considering when we're hiring that first marketer for our organization? Where's the price point? Again, I remember back in my days, and I was like, "Oh my God!" But I had to do it, right? But it was actually worth it when you looked at your return on your investment. So, Jeff, where are we? What is a good area? And again, state by state is going to be, you know, obviously a little bit different. But in all, what do you look at in terms of your pay structure for a marketer?
So, Yvette, full transparency. You know, I hired some marketers that weren't as experienced as I am. And I know we were having discussions like, do we need people with experience or someone with experience in sales and marketing? But I couldn't afford that. So I hired people that I knew and that could help me. And I don't really want to get into what I was paying them, but it wasn't that much. And I kind of base it off of, look, if you follow through with what we're talking about, we can have a different discussion. So as I said, full transparency, I don't know what a good starting point would be for a marketer to come on. Do I want to pay them $60,000 off the bat if they're going to be asking for commission? Probably not. Probably not. But I think this is probably a better question for Adam, as I haven't been around that long where I'm hiring a lot of marketers.
So Adam, over to you, my love.
Sure. So, and I think it depends, right? There's a lot of depends. I think because there's a couple of different directions you can go. And I've had experience with hiring well-seasoned marketers that came with a book of business, but let's be honest, that's gonna come with a price tag. Most recently, we felt that with our agency, it was a better strategic approach to hire someone who is green to the industry, but has amazing work ethic and is driven for results. So we were able to find a fair salary that I think is probably in the median range here for an entry to mid-level sales rep. but building a commission structure that is extremely attractive because that's really uncapped, right? Because as you let that sales rep kind of go and achieve certain goals, your business is going to grow just as fast. So you don't want to tie anyone's hands, and you want to see success with both your sales reps and your organization at the same pace. So I think and again, it's not a one size fits all. You might be in a position where you don't have time to really invest and train a sales rep, and you need to find someone that's going to come with a book of business that's going to guarantee 20 something referrals a month. That may or may not be reality, but just know that's going to come with a price tag.
Right,
My opinion
absolutely.
is you give someone, enough tools and resources to be successful and build out a commission structure where you can grow together.
Absolutely. And again, for myself in doing that, I knew that for me to grow, there had to be some sacrifices. So, what I was getting in maybe as a draw for myself, I now had to, when I was at the point of having to bring on a marketer, was to offset that over there. And when I started back in the day, we was up there, we was around 60 plus at that point, but again, my return on investment just outweighed it, to the point that at one point, I had 3 marketers in my office, and this all started from $166. So it can be done, guys. Be creative in that structure, right? We look at having profit share incentives, as Adam has just mentioned, having that bonus package in place can also help you. But again, watch your numbers, see how it's working, adjust it if you need to, set yourself some parameters in. If this is not working in 6 months to build up that momentum, then adjust it, relook at it. But you've always got to revisit it and relook at it. Okay, so more questions, guys, and we're going to have to get off this call soon, but it's been so exciting that I need to keep going here. Is it a good idea to use your marketer to not only recruit clients, but staff as well? Jeff, how do you what are your thoughts on that?
Yvette, it's a hard question because I want to utilize whoever I'm paying as much as I can to get my money's worth, right? But
right.
I think if you're going to send a marketer out there every day to bring in business and manage their clients, it may not be a good idea to have them to recruit for staffing. It might just be too much for their plate. As an owner, it's already too much for me to do staffing and recruiting and marketing. And that's why Lillian and I really mesh so well together. She's so good at the recruiting. She's so good at staffing. Whereas I don't really have the personality, I guess, to talk to the caregivers. They don't even want to answer the phone for me half the time. They'd rather just talk to Lillian. Maybe because she signs their checks. I don't know.
Good answer. Good answer. I mean, and it was very, very honest. Adam, your thoughts?
Well, it's ironic that question was asked because right now I have a sales team of 3. So, we are the newest addition to our team is someone who comes with not a heavy experience in the sales and marketing world, but more of a kind of a well-rounded. He played a lot of roles within another home care organization, but he's excelling in the sales and marketing piece. But right now, we're seeing such a shift in our market, right? We need to double down on recruiting like yesterday. So we're utilizing that piece as a kind of like a hybrid role. That's not taking away from the other sales reps that are fully dedicated to sales and marketing and calling on their accounts and doing their things. But having that hybrid role has been super effective for us because in times like right now where we have to pivot, it's been beneficial because we can't gain business without the recruiting side. So having that one person, it's something that you could maybe look at in the future. But I would say if you're looking at hiring a sales rep, like Jeff said, be laser focused on one thing. And if you get to the point where you can hire a second, maybe turn that into a hybrid model.
Absolutely.
I think it's also important, real quick, just to interject, it's important to know that, someone who's excelling in sales or marketing, they might not be good at recruiting. They might not be good at staffing. That was something that it's something that I faced, but I do it because I have to. So I will help Lillian with that. I absolutely will recruit and staff. But if I'm going to be hiring a marketer, I don't think I would take the same route as Adam is with the hybrid role. just because I think it's a lot for someone to take on.
And Lillian does not need help in recruiting. She is the queen of recruitment.
Oh, she's amazing.
She is the queen of recruitment. So other than social media, this is going to you, Jeff. Other than social media, what is your best marketing tool?
Myself. You know, I'm out there all the time.
Great answer.
Yeah, if I'm out marketing to the facilities, I make sure that I'm up and I send my emails out in the morning to the facilities if I didn't reach out to them the day before. I'm constant contact. I'm making constant contact with these people. I'm the FaceTime, I'm making FaceTime with these referral sources. So I would be the best tool. Yeah.
Great answer. Great answer, Adam.
Not me specifically, but your marketer.
Right. The face,
Correct.
the person, that intimacy, that personal touch. Adam, and I know that you want to jump on that one.
Well, no, and it's just a really piggyback because really, and Jeff hit it right on the head. It's you and your commitment. When you say you're going to do something, do it and do it well. If you say you're going to answer your phone around the clock, make sure you answer your phone around the clock. You can't just get by being mediocre. Again, there's 100 other home care agencies
right behind you.
Same doors. So follow through on your commitments. Social media is a great tool, but I can tell you, I can count on maybe 2 hands on how many direct referrals I've gotten from social media. Love Facebook. We do a lot of brand marketing, a lot of intentional bringing referral partners onto our Facebook Lives, just like this, which has been very helpful to strengthen relationships. But I'm telling you right now, nothing is a better tool than yourself and your commitment to what you say you're going to do.
Perfect. And I'm going to say amen to that. I have Danny who is saying, what does some referral agreements look like between a home care agency and home health care agency? And I know the answer to this, so I'm going to pass it over to you guys. What does that referral agreement look like? Is there a referral agreement? Do you actually need one, or do you just need that relationship? Jeff?
So right now, I don't have any open agreements with a home care agency. It's really just relationships that I have that we work very closely together. So I don't want to say that you shouldn't have one. You probably should. I just know for me right now, I haven't needed one. So I haven't brought it up to any of the home health agencies that I'm working with, just because I don't want to ruin the relationship if they say to me, well, we already work so well together.
Perfect. And Adam?
Sure. So I think at the end of the day, a contract or a written agreement is not necessary. I think it really boils down to the relationship. Now, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
We do staffing for a lot of skilled nursing facilities and assisted livings where that does have to have a contractual agreement. So I agree. I understand that. The other thing is you have to be very, very, understand your regulations. Because, like, for instance, in the state of Florida, we cannot pay for referrals. So when people start talking about a referral contract, like, I can't go and, have a contract with a home health organization and I'm going to give a $250 stipend for every referral. It just doesn't happen. It can't. It's illegal. It's against our regulations.
That is called kickbacks, guys. That is called a kickback. Okay? Right. So we cannot do that. All of our clients have to have the full autonomy to make the decisions on who they select as their home care provider. And especially in the Medicare, Medicaid world, that is an absolute no-no. Absolute no-no. So just bear that in mind. And that's a great point to bring up, Adam. And just to, close things out here. We've talked a lot, Adam, Jeff, about facilities. I'm going to close us out with this question. Where else should our owners be looking to market? Adam?
Well, a couple of things. And I'll try to be short. Sorry. I think it really boils down to is thinking outside the box. I know it's a cliche kind of statement, but we could run in the same circles that every other home care agency is doing. You have to find your niche. For instance, about 2 years ago, we found a huge niche in long-term care insurance. About 45% of our census right now is on claim with long-term care insurance because we are the home care provider of choice when it comes to that. So finding your niche and being super, super focused on being the best at that. And you know what? One thing I'm just going to leave with is authenticity. Nothing is going to sell your company. No flyer, no brochure, believe it or not, and that's coming from my mouth, right? Nothing's going to sell your company better than authenticity. And it's the God's honest truth. You have to be so authentic and genuine and remember your purpose of why you're doing what you're doing.
And Jeff, I'm going to ask that same question to you. We've talked about facilities. We've talked about getting behind that gatekeeper, that receptionist. We've talked about the relationships, but that's not where the buck stops here. Where else should I be, planting my seeds in this very evolving world of home care in terms of creating that traction in my marketing efforts?
So I'm a strong believer that everybody is a referral source.
Amen.
You can reach out to realtors. They're constantly, showing homes to a lot of people. They have open houses. They're always meeting some people, and, they're doing a lot of what we do. They do cold calls. They're reaching out to people. So they're huge, but everybody is a potential referral source. And, you have your marketing plan, and part of that should be, I'm hitting my 10 facilities. I have one networking event a week. I have one marketing, whatever it might be. But maybe I want to add in each day I'm going to make 2 phone calls to businesses outside of home care, outside of health, whether it could be contractors. I've reached out to a few, and it doesn't seem like it would be a constant referral source, and it's not. But I've had people that have reached out to me saying, we just sold someone's house because they're renovating it. They're looking to go into a home, but they may need some home care. So everybody's a potential referral source.
Absolutely. Guys, Jeff, Adam, you have been phenomenal. I know Jeff is out of water and I've got to quench his thirst. Yeah. It has been absolutely wonderful this evening. I've actually just got somebody else on here that just says, hi, Adam, up for the marketing materials. He is the absolute best, has done a fantastic job for so many folks. There you go. You're getting some props there, Adam. And I know that we've got some other one of our members here are just saying they need some of those rack cards as well. Lakeisha is saying, thank you guys so very much. Jenny, she's saying, great information. Thank you for all of your time. This has been awesome for our first marketing madness session. And out of it has come some, some pointers that we most definitely want to do this again, the employee and the caregiver retention. But we've taken up enough of your time. I want to say thank you. If you have any final remarks for everybody, please do so right now.
Well, I think I'll just leave on this is this is an industry that's very challenging, and it could be exhausting at times. Don't give up. Keep your head high. This past year and a half during COVID has turned marketers, owners upside down. Keep at it. Remember why you're doing it. As I said, remember your purpose and keep at it and continue to take action. And that's all I can keep on saying is take action, because at the end of the day, you need to drive forward and help more and more people. So
thank you. Thank you so much, Adam. And Jeff, your closing remarks for us this evening, my love.
Sure. Well, thank you for having us. I had a really good time. But
as always,
I just wanted to reiterate what Adam had said. It's so important in what we do that, someone mentioned stipends and money, and, while some people may practice that here, it's not going to build strong relationships. So don't get discouraged if you see other agencies doing something like that and they're bringing in, referrals through that. Go into these buildings with your goal in mind. Be honest. If you can't handle something, let them know. Maybe you can't handle a 4-hour case that's 45 minutes away from you. Be honest, be upfront, and deliver on what you're promising.
Perfect. Adam Corcoran, Home Care Flies out in Naples, Florida, and Jeff Rosskopf from Always Home Healthcare in Hackensack, New Jersey. I love you guys. Thank you guys. And we're going to be here again soon. Until then, everybody, have yourself a wonderful and safe evening. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.